Hello everyone, my name is Maciej Proszewski and I'm staff engineer for Container Security Group. And today I would like to talk about extending scheduled scan execution policy with new analyzer, with new scan cluster event scanning. There is an OpenMR that soon will be reviewed and merged, and today I would like to talk about the features that are introduced with this MR. So let's go and let's quickly create a new project for us. Okay, make it public. All right, so let me quickly create a very simple CI/CD file. Okay, now let's go to GraphQL. Let's create a security policy project for this project. Okay, let's just disable protected branches for our repository, so it will be easier for us to push to main without need for any additional approvals. Okay, let's go to repository and let's create policy, some policies for our project. Okay, new file. Let's take a look at the examples that we currently have. The name scanning will be the first one. Okay. So for now, let's see if we already have something in CI/CD pipelines for our project. We should have one that is running our test say hi job. Okay, I'm gonna just do that. Commit changes. In our main project, I'll go to CI/CD configuration. I'll just add variable that will allow us to run containers scanning scan. Because with this new feature, we're not only adding cluster mid scanning, we're also adding regular container scanning for your static containers. So we'll just provide Docker image with value Alpine 3.6. I'll just add the variable itself. Then we'll go to CI/CD pipeline and I'll trigger it manually. We'll actually see a second job is added for container scanning. Okay, so I can actually do the same and modify it. And instead of using container scanning scan, I can use cluster mid scanning. So it will extend our pipeline, either manually triggered or for your MR, with additional job that will run cluster image scanning scan. So now if I'll go and trigger this pipeline again, it will automatically extend my pipeline with this cluster image scanning job. So obviously it will not work for us in this case because it was not configured. We haven't added any like CI variable that should allow us to perform a scan of regular cluster. If you want to read more about cluster image scanning, I recommend going to docs, and there's like the whole section that allows you to how to configure a cluster and how to provide the CIS config variable to your project. So it will automatically get vulnerabilities that you wanted to get. Right, but you see that the pipeline itself is extended. The job will fail because it was not configured for us. There is no kubeconfig, but it was added. So that's what is important for us. So now we can talk about actual feature that we want to add. So allow you to schedule a scan, like cluster mid scanning scan on your selected cluster, on set date, set time, so set cadence. You can specify, okay, I would like to run it every 5 minutes or every 24 hours. So this is what we're going to do with that. To simplify things and to not go to the all sections that we already have here, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go to my project. I will first add a new Kubernetes cluster. I'm gonna just name it production cluster. So now one of the examples that we have here is actually how to run it on selected cluster. So I'll just do that. So I'll go to my policy and I'll modify it. So I have here the advanced example. We'll go to this example in a second. I'm just going to remove that. I'll leave the empty object here, and I'm going to just copy the name of the cluster and I'll paste it here. We're going to run container scanning scan it will regularly extend the pipeline. So when you manually trigger the scan, it will extend that container scanning scan. Then, because we've added clusters, policy engine will recognize that you want to run container scanning scan on the cluster. So it will automatically translate that to cluster image scan. So it will get configuration kubeconfig for the cluster itself. It will connect and get vulnerabilities from your cluster. And we also added additional thing here. So when you're not specifying the clusters, but you're specifying branches, what it will do, it will actually run regular container scanning scan as like a separate job for your project. So I wanted to show you that this allows me to show that in single policy. So I'll start, it is added. So I'll start by going to and triggering like manual job. Okay, so you see container scanning was added, and now let's wait for a few minutes to have these policies applied. So we need to wait for a few minutes. So we're gonna have scheduled scans for the cluster and for regular container scanning scan, and it should be added automatically. All right, so see, we have two jobs, two separate pipelines with one job was added. So the first one is cluster image scanning scan, because we specified here that we want to run it on the clusters. So the engine responsible for running those policies understands that if you configure that for the cluster, it will actually run it on cluster image scanning scan instead of container scanning. But as well, since we've added also that for branches, it added separate pipeline with additional job just to run container scanning scan additionally. So you can see we have two. So both were passed. So let's take a look here. And let's see if it found any vulnerabilities. Okay, it found 7 reports. It was added. So now we can go to vulnerability report and take a look at the vulnerabilities that were added. So for both cluster image scanning and container scanning, we have vulnerabilities. They were found. Right? This is great. So I can go and I'll modify it, and I'll enforce, instead of enforcing like container scanning scan, I can enforce cluster image scanning scan. Okay, so what it will do, it will actually run regular cluster image scanning on this cluster. Then it will automatically extend all your pipelines like triggered manually or for MRs and so on. It will extend that with this cluster image scan job, or it will add additional schedule that will actually every 5 minutes run cluster image scan for your project for the variable that you defined in your project. So let's assume that we have that variable configured here. I can add the variable CIS kubeconfig, and if I'll just add the configuration of it, it will add me a job that will actually take that configuration from that variable, and it will use that to run a cluster image scanning scan. So this was added just to make sure that you explicitly want to run cluster image scanning scan. If you just wanted to handle that automatically, you can specify container scanning, and then based on the rule that you have, it will run proper scan for you. If you want to enforce explicitly cluster image scanning scan without this auto selection, then you need to specify the cluster image scanning. Okay, I'll go back to container scanning and I'll just add one additional thing. So we'll actually filter some results based on the configuration added into the policy. So in this example, what we're going to do, we're going to actually, I'll just commit those changes. We're going to wait for a few minutes. While waiting, I'm going to just quickly talk about what will happen. So it will take a look at the names of the containers, of the resources or namespace or the kinds, and will actually filter based on those values. So for example, let's say I have Nginx www deployment added in GitLab production namespace that it has like Nginx container, it will only get me vulnerabilities from that container. These all are optional. You can specify, for example, I would only get vulnerabilities for deployments or only for a given namespace or for a given resource. So, and for now, in this first iteration, we are supporting only the first value. So even if you add more, it's not yet supported on the analyzer. But as soon as we are adding that analyzer, it will allow us to filter multiple values provided for a single type. For now, only the first one will be taken. And we don't really have on our cluster anything like that. So I expect that when we are going to schedule that, it will actually find no vulnerabilities at all. We're waiting for some time. Let's go back to our CI/CD and let's see if we have pipelines that were added. So again, we have two pipelines. We want to get it for cluster mix scanning, and let's see what analyzer received and if those values were filtered out or not. Okay, see, no reports were found because we actually have no resources that are matching values that we provided here. But it allows you to modify it. It allows you to actually specify what you really want to get, which vulnerabilities you would like to see in your project. Okay, that would be it. If you have more questions, feel free to ask in the issue or in the epic. We're happy to help. We're extending the help as well to give more information about that. And we're going to extend that feature in the future. Thank you.